I feel like this is a deal.
Yeah.
Okay, $200 a month. I can go and start holding people's information for ransom and make millions. That's a good return.
Yeah. $200 a month. I mean,
what's the downside?
Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Taking Action. I am your host, Michael Allen. Today I'm joined with my co-host, Ryan Beaton, and our guest, Jordan Emberley. Jordan is a certified ethical hacker, as well as a cybersecurity instructor and consultant. He is also the host of the Dark Water Report, your source for information on cybersecurity news. Jordan Emberley, welcome to the show.
thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, with the Dark Water Report, where do you get your news sources from, and what do you think of mainstream media?
When it comes to, I use threat intelligence platforms like Alien Vault. They send me a lot of, I signed up for threat intelligence alerts, and then I'll use different browsers to, I'll use some search engines to get more news. Sometimes I'll use some websites like Hacker News. They have a lot of updates. Usually just threat intelligence feeds that I can dig into.
Do you ever go on any forums that I guess anonymous people or hackers will use on a regular basis? Like you get these sources directly from, I guess what you would call a community?
Not really. I find that when you go on the dark web, it's there's a lot of trolls, and you got to kind of sift through a lot of characters to find anything. There are some darknet sources. I can't really think of any right now.
Well, let me just pump the brakes for a little bit. I know that, Michael, you're super excited, but I'm over here in the dark today because your expertise is not my expertise. You and Michael are seeing eye to eye. What is, before we even, you just jumped in there, Michael. What, like right in there. What is even the Dark Water Report? Where did it come from? What do you do? What's it about? Where do people see it? What is it?
It's a weekly report on Spotify.
Okay.
And it's a threat intelligence report. So
Threat Intelligence Report.
Yeah.
No idea what that is.
So basically, anything currently ongoing when it comes to vulnerabilities, cyber attacks, and zero-day alerts. So zero-day would be if there is a vulnerability out for an operating system and there's not a patch out yet. That's a zero-day attack.
So we got to dial it back. What the hell's a patch?
So that would be an update.
Okay.
So usually a lot of times when you get an update on your phone or on your computer, it's a security patch.
Right.
And basically there's an arms race always going on.
Yeah.
There's companies that sell tech and app or software, and there's attackers or threat actors or hackers.
So when I take my phone and I see all those updates I have to do to all my apps, and it says bugs fixed, because they all just say, minor changes and bugs fixed. They're keeping me safe.
Yeah. It's best to put those on automatic because there's so many vulnerabilities. Just before Christmas, I think Google Chrome had 16 vulnerabilities that were open, so they had to patch those. Windows had a bunch. Apple products had a bunch, and it's ongoing, and it's worldwide.
See, this is just a world that the average person like myself, I consider myself average, just, I don't know if it's good or bad, just doesn't see this. Just doesn't even know what's going on. I pick up my phone, open up my computer daily, I do a few updates, and I just go on. I just do what I have to do that day. I don't even think about this. So people like yourself are keeping us safe. We don't even know it.
Yeah, well, it's funny because everyone has two people, really. It's all you, but there's you outside doing things, and then there's you on your phone or you on your computer, and people are getting more and more into their computer self. So profiles, you're doing all your shopping online, your entity is now there with all of your information. You grab your phone, you pay for your coffee, you write a text message to your spouse, all of that stuff is online. So it feels safe because it's in your hand and you're like typing away. But if you go into a coffee shop and get on the public Wi-Fi and you don't have a VPN, which is a piece of software that encrypts your data, then somebody sniffing that network can view your packets as they go through. They can take your messages. They can take your credentials, steal your Facebook login, and
Wow.
become you.
So maybe don't jump on public Wi-Fi networks without a VPN.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
you don't know what a VPN is, just stay away from public networks.
Yeah.
And listen to the Dark Water Report.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
And
too,
this- and
yeah.
this is what. Okay, so that kind of brings us full circle. Thank you for that. That helps me understand what's going on a little bit better. Yeah. So is it a podcast? You said it's on Spotify.
It's on
Is it a
Spotify.
podcast.
It's I guess it's basically it's scripted, so it has a beginning and an end where it's like, welcome to the Dark Water Report. And I usually do 5 current stories. So
Yeah.
each episode is probably 5 to 10 minutes long. It's just it's for people, it's for everyone, but I found my audience is usually people that are analysts or kind of in the industry, so they can see what's going on.
Yeah.
I actually had one guy reach out. He's a consultant in a different province. And he's like, hey, I listened to your report. It's great to be able to run through all that and have something to talk about. So
Yeah. Gets everybody up to speed. Like, get up, have your coffee, energy drink, nicotine patch, whatever you're into. listen
right.
to Dark Water Report.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm flying so high on stimulants by that time. But I still get the episodes out.
It's pretty concise too. What's your runtime normally? Probably 10 to 20 minutes?
I was doing them daily, but it was just too much because I had to edit it. Turns out you can hear me breathing when I'm going through it. So
Yeah.
it became too much to do every day. So I do a couple of weeks. They used to be 5 minutes a pop, but now they're more like 8 to 10.
Okay.
And I got to know before, I know Michael's burning with some questions on this, but is it a, what am I trying to say? Is it a profitable type of venture to have a report like that? I guess what I'm asking, I'm not asking you how much money you're making. I'm asking you if it's worth it, and if somebody else wanted to start a type of podcast or just a report and try to get on Spotify, what would you tell them? Is it worth the effort, or are you still getting there? Is there a goal in mind?
Well, it's not for profit.
Okay.
Before I started with this, I was doing cybersecurity for seniors on YouTube. So I just put up videos on how to protect your elderly parents or your grandparents, your aunts and uncles from cyber attacks. Because a lot of phishing scams, a lot of people getting their bank accounts drained by people across the world. So
Yeah.
I started doing that, and I was like, okay.
They're getting scary good to those phishing scams.
Yeah.
I almost fell for one once, and I stopped right at the last minute. I was like, wait a minute. And I saw that it was, it almost had me. I can't even remember what it was. It was a couple of years ago, and it was, the timing was perfect. The content of the message related to something that was going on with my business at the time. And I was like, oh, okay. Shit. Okay, I got to do that now. And I held up my phone, and I clicked on the link, went almost with the whole way, and went to type in my password. I was like, wait a minute. I started clicking on other things on the page. It was just an image. They were just trying to capture my login information.
That's right.
And that's how far I got. And I couldn't believe I got tricked that far.
So many people. I mean, I almost fell for something a while ago. I replied to the email, and then I actually sent it to you right away afterward. And somebody was claiming to be somebody who I knew personally, who was very high up in an organization, but they had their title wrong. So after I had replied and was like, "Hey, what do you need?" And then I was like, "Oh, this." And then I checked the email, and I was like, "Oh, I almost fell for a phishing scam." But it was. Which is actually one of the questions I have for Jordan, but this was the opposite of what I'm going to ask in this question here. This was just plain text with the idea, which is normally that person's approach. So it was very accurate to how this person emails, very concise, very few, minimal words, but title was incorrect, and then email was obviously a scam. So I sent it off to Jordan. I was like, hey, look, you probably want to keep an eye on this. But the question I have is, now with the advent of AI being able to make phishing emails look extremely realistic, so much to where you got to be actively looking to notice the difference. What can people do nowadays to be aware of these phishing schemes through emails with the help of AI?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was reading today about so hackers were always called hackers. Now they're called threat actors, which I'm not a big fan of.
Threat
I
actors?
threat actors, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know
It's
why.
the new term
that
for
come
hacker.
I didn't
Well,
know.
maybe it has something to do with the wanting to get people into the field of cybersecurity using the term ethical hacker. So maybe they're trying to separate those two categories now. It's almost like the good guys are perceived as ethical hackers, and now the bad guys are threat actors.
Okay.
Yeah.
That could be one reason.
I'm a child of the 80s, so hackers, I don't know. I always like that term. But,
Yeah.
but they, so I'll start with this. The best thing you can do, and the only thing you can really do, is be hyper vigilant on what you're doing. Like, you get an email from someone you know, and they're like, hey, I can't get into the house. What's the door code? Call them on the phone. Say, do you need the door code? Or if you get a message from someone on Facebook that you know and they're asking you anything personal that's weird, call them. Always verify, never trust is zero trust principle. And also with phishing emails, if anything is strange, if someone from your companies is emailing you and asking you personal questions or anything about credentials or money or anything, don't write them back. Go see them. It's the best thing to do. And it's the only thing we can do, because the threat actor, threat actors out there now are so sophisticated that they have organizations. You can buy ransomware as a service. So ransomware it's a type of malware that locks up your system or locks up a network or a company, and they say, pay us X amount of dollars in Bitcoin, or we're going to delete all your stuff. So
Just like that big Eastern Health hack.
Wow.
That was a ransomware attack.
they encrypt it. You can't do anything unless you got backups. You're screwed.
Yeah. So remember when Adrian was on the show, he's now launching a new tech product called Active Booker. That's software as a service. So what Jordan's talking about is ransomware as a service. There's entire organizations that are underground on the dark web that you could call up and say, hey, look, I want to take advantage of your services. And that they're apparently the most professional people you'll ever deal with.
$200 a month. And
So what's the service? Do they hack for you? And
they give you all of the tools. And then you just pick a victim. You go use the tools. Yeah. It's a 24/7 service.
So you don't have to actually know what you're doing. There's a company out there on the dark web that if I go to, I can say, hey, I want to steal this company's information. I'll pay you to use the tools to do that. And then I go steal somebody's information and hold their information ransom.
You buy the software from them or rent it, $200 a month. They give you 24/7 support, like a Microsoft.
You know, I feel like this is a deal.
Yeah.
Okay, $200 a month. I can go and start holding people's information for ransom and make millions. That's a good return.
Yeah. $200 a month.
I mean, what's the downside?
That's right. It's better than a Avon scam.
Oh my
you know?
God.
Yeah, this is better than any pyramid.
The
scheme
pyramid
I've ever heard.
scheme. Exactly.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you could get arrested, I'm assuming here, but I mean, you know, what's the
Well, here's
No
a
risk, no
story.
reward.
Here's a story for you. Apparently, there was this 18-year-old hacker who hacked, I think this was maybe early 2000s. You might know the story, Jordan. I can't remember the gentleman's name. Young kid hacks into Yahoo, steals millions of users' credentials, sells them for $200 or $300 a pop, spends 3 years in jail, but the cops never found his money because he had it all in Bitcoin. So when he got out, he basically retired with $1 billion.
Did
For 3 years in
in
jail.
prison, came out with $1 billion. See, that's a good return.
It's a good return.
Where do I sign up?
Yeah.
You know,
But that's the kind of thing that is obviously leading people down that dark road. And even when I was studying for my certified ethical hacker, you know, I had to learn the tools that hackers were using, and I was struggling with it morally. I was saying, how do you get good at these? How do you get good at what you need to get good at without breaching your line of ethics? You know, it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky to understand what hat you're wearing. And in the hacking world, we talk about different color hats. But, you know, in order to learn the skills, you might have to do some things in order to perfect those skills, which actually leads me to another question. So how do hackers get good at what they do?
ethical hackers use services like Hack the Box and Capture the Flag, CTF, and things like that. They might mess around with their own home network, things like that. But other hackers out there, I mean, you can start as like a script kiddie, which is someone who doesn't really know what they're doing. You start getting hacker kits, messing around with, live websites and things like that, learning the tricks of the trade. And a lot of times, they'll go under some proxy chain, or they'll make themselves undetectable, which is getting more difficult, but they can still do it. And they learn that way.
It's interesting that you mentioned it's getting more difficult to stay anonymous. One of my questions for you that I actually have been thinking a lot about lately is, what does the future of internet usage look like in Canada? There's been talk of possibly having to use your government-issued ID to access the internet. Do you think that will come about? And what are your thoughts on the future of
I hope
online
not.
use? Yeah, me too.
I hope not. The issue with that stuff is that there's nothing, in my opinion, when it comes. So the internet is a great tool, but it's quickly becoming a bit of an issue because there's a lot of garbage out there, and it's out there to steal your attention. It's literally, they want your attention, and the algorithms are to take your attention and sell you products based on what you view. And I think it's kind of like smoking. Like smoking was very popular for a long time, but if I know in my circles, talking to people, I know people, myself included, who have deleted their social media off their phone because it's wasting too much time, and then a week later you're installing it all again.
Absolutely.
And you're back on it, So the internet's great for information, but it's really bad for trash and wasting your time. And because things are made to be exciting and make you angry and make you whatever, it's sucking you in even further. And then it's not good to leverage that to start to take away any kind of freedom, because you need to be able to talk and you need to be able to debate, but I don't think it's good to jump on the internet and start yelling at strangers. And it's bad for your mental health. Going on a bit of a tangent now, but back to your question, I think that people really need to unplug, because before, if someone wanted to scam you in your life, they would have to call you on the phone, and before that, they'd knock on your door, and they try to scam you that way. Now you can be reached at mass. They can send out 1,000 phishing emails to people in a minute, and they can go to ChatGPT, say, write this for me as a person from the UK, send it to UK people, or as a Canadian. And they have, there's Worm GPT, which is created for hackers, and they've been using that to also create malware and phishing emails and things like that. So people are so easily touched now. And, well, it's funny because during the Black Friday sale, or Black Friday week and Cyber Monday and all that stuff, that's when they'll roll out the DHL phishing scams, because so many people are ordering products. You're not going to notice, oh, my DHL shipping information. Okay, I'll click that, and now you're on a phishing site. They're very sophisticated. So being in that world and being muddled with all this stuff, it's easy to get lost and let somebody in, especially if they can make you download something and sit on your computer and just have something taking your data, logging your keys, and using it when they want, like a advanced persistent threat. They go unnoticed. They're just there,
That actually leads me to another question, if you don't have one in mind.
No, I think, I guess from my perspective, you touched on AI. I think your next question might be about AI that you want to ask. But my thing is, or comment is, with AI, it's the next piece of new revolutionary technology. And I feel like you said, years ago, people would knock on your door and try to scam you. And then it was, maybe in the mail or on the phone. And then now it's online. And the next step to being online, to being scammed, is now AI, especially with phishing emails. You can have it write your emails for you. You can have it write as a middle-aged woman from the UK, or a 17-year-old from Newfoundland, or you can give the demographics of the person and get AI to even phrase things in a certain way that someone from a different demographic would. How do you keep up with the changing technology over the years, and how your information becomes more vulnerable? People become more vulnerable, and it's getting harder. As a person who's not in this industry, who knows very little about this, I see things like deep hacks and voice mimicking. Forgive me if I'm not using the right terminology. I just don't know it. But like, there's voice hacking. There's AI now that can generate images that look like real life. Like, there's a real person there that looks just like someone I know, but it's a computer generated image of that person, and they can overlay their voice on that and create a video of something. Now I'm getting real deep here, but there's AI out there, I know this enough from what I've seen, that can create a video that makes it look like I'm sitting down saying something and it's not me. So this is getting scary.
Yeah.
So where's the future of this? Like, how do we protect ourselves from like the ultimate, like this it's like a sci-fi horror movie?
Well, it's funny because years ago when Mac got really popular, the selling point of Mac was, we don't get viruses. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, it's because Windows is so popular. They were attacking Windows computers. Now Mac is popular. Guess what? They're getting attacked. Right. So it's whatever people put their mind to. Mm-hmm. AI, yeah, and you being someone who isn't in the industry, you guys need to know just as much information as those in the industry, because everything you do is tied to your phone. It's tied to your computer. If you work in construction, some part of what you do involves your phone or technology.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm on it every day, constantly. I have a pocket in my tool belt for my phone.
No way.
Yeah, I do. It's dedicated for my phone to go in, and I pull it out, and it could be something as simple as a calculator, or it's usually email or text messages. It's always communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I think I mentioned this before, but it is an ongoing arms race. You got people creating new technology and people leveraging it to attack others. And AI is one of those things. It's you got to be hyper vigilant. It is going to get harder, but at some point we're going to have to unplug enough that your life isn't dictated by that person on the screen, where it's like, your mother telling you to wire her $400. It's like, go to her house, call her on the phone. There's going to have to be some kind of authenticity check. I don't know what that looks like. Quantum computing is another interesting one.
Okay.
Where people are looking at that, and I've heard that, for example, the next generation of firewalls that I believe is out now, but it could do like deep packet inspection and things like that, and they're going to leverage quantum computing for parts of cybersecurity. But attackers are also going to get that technology, and they're going to be using it too. So the arms race will never end, and
it's just going to keep changing by the sounds of things.
Yeah, but it's up to us to be hyper vigilant into. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, but like, we have to start taking time away from our devices. Yeah. Is the
that's the takeaway. Put your damn phone down.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that topic, because that was a question I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into. I've been listening to some talks from this gentleman named Jonathan Haidt, and he talks a lot about the use of social media in the younger generation. And he says the data is out now. It's clear they're being harmed in numerous ways from the use of social media. And he actually advocates for kids not to get social media accounts until they're 16, and the cell phone around the same age as well. So what kind of information, it's still ingrained in our society today. We're torn, like you said, like smoking. We're doing it and we know it's bad for us, but everyone else is doing it, so we're locked into this. Mm-hmm. What can people do to start unplugging and to start dialing back their use of social media? And then at the same time, when you're an entrepreneur, how do you still stay connected with the community, where that is one of the main sources that we use nowadays?
Yeah, that's true.
It's all about, I think...
Good question. Good question.
I think it's a lot of it is about scheduling. So when I get up in the morning, my phone stays up in my room. And I go downstairs and I do my morning routine or whatever. And I don't touch it until I'm ready to throw on some music at the gym or start work and start reading emails. And then when I'm done work, I put it away again. And I don't really see it again until, just before I go to bed. I'll watch a couple of YouTube videos or whatever. But right now the culture is everything's online. And it's funny because the things I see online, I guess I can only speak from my own perspective, the quality is way down. Videos are so much shorter because they just want your attention. So it went from YouTube videos to Reels, and a Reel's like a 8-second little snippet. And money gets generated that way. So people will take someone else's video of them doing something remarkable, like scaling a building, and then they'll talk over it. This person's scaling a building, and like they're trying to generate money from this. And it's, I feel like we're going to hit, I'm hoping that we hit some kind of tact wall where we're like, you know what? This is silly. Why am I watching this?
Right.
So this reminds me of kids' cartoons, because when I was a kid, I think we're all about the same. When we were kids, cartoons were much calmer.
Yeah.
And I find now where I have my own kids, 5 and 8, when they're watching cartoons sometimes, some of the stuff that they gravitate to, stuff that they just turn on them, and I'm like, nope. It's like flash, bang, move, jump, and it's like lots of different camera angles. Everything's constantly moving. It's so overstimulating.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of parents out there that try to keep their kids away from that, but there's definitely a lot of parents out there that maybe are not aware or just they just go with it. I'm not, and I think the next generation coming up are overstimulated, and they constantly need that stimulation, that dopamine release of being overstimulated with whatever's on a screen, whether it's a TV show, a cartoon as a kid, social media as you get older, and so on. It's and I know the solution is what you're saying, is to unplug. I guess getting to that solution. How do we make that happen?
Well,
as a society.
Oh, sorry, I didn't cut you off there. I read a book a couple of years ago called 10 Reasons Why You Should Delete Your Social Media Accounts Now. And it's written by, I feel like his first name's Young, but I can't remember. But anyway, you can find it. It's everywhere. But he was a Google developer, and he talked about the algorithms and how everything's about taking your attention, And if you're a kid, I have a 3-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I had the 9-year-old delete YouTube because it's trash. And like the stuff he's watching is just to grab a 9-year-old's attention,
Absolutely.
And he also would get super frustrated at real life stuff. Like he would, the simplest stuff, you got to do your homework, buddy, and start writing this. And he would get so frustrated, he would cry, So, and it's all because he's on a dopamine trip. And, as parents, especially, it's like, I can't do that to you. You can't be plugged into something that's literally designed to take your attention and to keep feeding and feeding you, until you pass out.
Yeah, we've been resisting the temptation. Like, again, everybody got their own style, but we don't let our kids have iPads. We never did. At first, I was kind of, what's the harm? But honestly, the more I learned, the more I dug into it. I was like, oh, no, this was a good call. We keep them away from screens as much as possible.
That's great.
We limit video time. And I'm not trying to praise myself up here. I'm just thinking it's like the world is geared to make you believe that all this is okay. The screen time is okay, not only for our kids, but for us, and it's there. And then now it's like people are starting to realize just how bad it is.
Yeah.
And what it is. Not only is it bad for us mentally, we're overstimulated, but it's potentially a security risk by just being overly invested, becoming more of a person, like you said earlier, on your phone than you are in real life.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and that's a great way to put it. It's with children. It's funny because it's so useful to be like, watch this iPad so I can do something.
Oh, absolutely.
And then like you're on your phone all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Then both of you are just sitting in the same room on devices. And it's like, what are we becoming here?
I've had a couple of realizations where we've done that. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, the worst feeling I had was my 3-year-old was on the floor playing with his dinkies, and he was like, "Dad, look." And I was there, 1 second, buddy. And I'm literally looking at trash on my phone, like some YouTube garbage. And I'm like, he's going to grow up, if I'm not careful, remembering the back of my phone instead of, me being on the floor playing with them. So I was like, I got to stop this. And that was the time where I was like, started to put my phone away. I'm like, if someone needs me, they'll call, So that was a part of it. That was a big change for me. But when it comes to constantly being on your phone, there's so many ads out there, and some of them are scams. Like there's a not for search. Sorry, going on a bit of a tangent here.
No, go.
But for search engine optimization, if you want to get your website found, your product, you can pay Google, and they will bump you up. You'll be a sponsored ad, and the same thing with Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Mm-hmm. But attackers also do that. So they will buy ad space to get, they'll play an ad and you click on it and they will steal your information or credit card information or make you download malware. They're paying to do it. They may not get found for, weeks or months because how many people are paying for that? So it's a technique they use to get people to do that too. So if you were into watches and you're going through watches and they're like cheap Rolexes, you're like, okay. You're like, all right, I like that one, $200. Then someone in a different country to steal your credit card information. No watch is coming. It's
Actually, that's a good point. So once a hacker has your information, what do you think that they're doing with it? And there's a few tools that we'll mention. Actually, I'll throw one out right now for any viewers who are listening. If they want to check and see if their emails have been breached, they can go on this website, haveibeenpwned.com. You can type your email right in, and it'll tell you if you've had any security breaches.
Sounds like a hacker's website, Michael.
It is not a hacker's website. It's a great website for anyone to use. But once someone has your information, what are they doing with it, and what should you do if your email has been breached?
If you downloaded a file, you should disconnect from the internet, run an antivirus. Malwarebytes is free. Get that, run it, quarantine whatever you find. If you sent credit card information, call and cancel it. It's a lot of times, so if you get malware on your computer, it's called an advanced persistent threat, where they basically create a command and control tunnel in between your computer and theirs, and they can leverage your processing power to like mine Bitcoin or take down websites through DOS attacks, denial of service. Or they could just sit there and start logging all your keystrokes. So they watch your browser activity, everything you type through, they're getting it as a log file. And then they can view it and steal your credentials and then use it to either do more scams. How many times has people on Facebook been like, my messenger has been hacked. If you get any messages from me, that person is probably going down the line of people as they're taking accounts and getting more. But if they take your credit card information, they're probably going to try to take a bunch of money. If they get your credentials, you may not know for a long time.
And then there's an approach that they can take as well, where they chain one event to the next. I forget the term on it now, but I believe if they get your information, they'll basically wait and use it for future hacks down the road. I forget the term on that now, what that's called. But it sounds like if they're clever and they're playing the long-term game, they'll just observe. They'll almost stay within the passive stage of information gathering before they move to active at all. Some might not even move to actively interacting with the target at all. Just completely stay in passive with the intent of using that information in the future. Does that
Absolutely, sound? Yeah. They're going to try to get as much information as they can. A lot of times it won't even just be you that they're monitoring. So you're just one in a list of bots or zombie computers that they're just, building a botnet out of. So whatever they want to use your computer for, or a lot of times the process is they send out thousands of phishing emails, and then somebody bites and they find out where they work, and they work for somewhere interesting. They work for Google. Okay. Now they're going to start to try to use those credentials, or they might start really looking into people in the company. They'll use applications like the Harvester. They'll just pull all the social media information about the people that work there, get their email addresses, and then they'll start writing them personalized emails. Hey, Susan, how's your daughter doing? Can you take a look at this PDF for me? You download it, runs a Trojan in the back end, or Excel files are really bad for that. They can run macros. So you download that, it runs a small program in the background, and all of a sudden you have malware on your computer without knowing it.
And that allows them to horizontally escalate privileges and then even vertically escalate privileges, possibly going up the chain of command and what they have access to on the computer. We're getting a little bit technical now, so we'll dial it back a little bit. So for the people who are listening, what are some common things that they can do, like best practices? What's 5 tools that they could use right now to help make sure they're safer online?
A VPN, I think, is one of the most important. You download a piece of software on your devices. I use CyberGhost. It's really cheap. It's like $50 a year.
That's the one I use as well, actually.
Yeah, it's great. They don't keep log files. You stay anonymous. You go to the airport, you turn it on, and all your data is encrypted. And you can put it on all your family's devices too, which is great. An antivirus is useful too. Some of those can bog you down, so I usually download one every once in a while and give my computer a scan or my devices and see if anything's there. Not clicking on suspicious emails, not clicking on suspicious text messages, WhatsApp messages, all of that stuff. So vishing and smishing. So they call you on the phone.
Smishing?
Smishing is SMS messaging. Phishing. Or phishing itself.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Did I hear that wrong?
Or smishing. That's also very useful. Don't download strange files. Don't use the Pirate Bay. Don't use torrents. And make sure that there's a little lock in the corner of your browser whenever you click on a website.
Okay, I gotta ask a question. You talked about torrents and, I'm just dating myself. I'm thinking about LimeWire back in the early 2000s. And I'm just like, how much damage was I doing to my computer on that thing? Just how bad was this? Like, I'm surprised that my family even has a cent left. Using the family computer, just kind of like downloading whatever, just free going, just don't care what it looks like, what the name of it is, just like, oh, I want that song, and downloading it.
Oh yeah, I was right there.
That was crazy.
Just downloading. I remember finding that you could burn CDs. You could like get albums as they came out. It'd take like 10 days to download because how slow it was back then. And what's the one that
9 minutes downloading one song?
Yeah, you get halfway through and it would be a completely different artist.
Someone picks up the phone, cuts your internet connection.
yeah. You catch those sounds. Download the music.
Come on. Start it over again.
What was the one that guy that got involved with Facebook had?
Napster?
Napster. Yeah, that was huge too.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, Napster.
Yeah, wasn't that supposed to be like legit, like safer or something? Probably not. I don't know.
I think the approach there, they were trying to actually sign the artists on or get the rights to it.
Yeah, oh, right, yeah. So they were trying to be Apple before Apple.
Yeah, or Spotify or whoever you want to.
Yeah.
He was before his time. He got in a lot of trouble. I think he did some prison time, maybe?
I think so. Yeah, there was something like that. I don't know.
He doesn't look like he'd survive prison, so maybe not. Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit. One thing I'm curious about is how important is it to use like a password manager or to not recycle passwords? Does that actually help in any way? Because a lot of the times right now, I personally use the philosophy, if you can think of your password, it's not safe enough. So what are your thoughts on passwords, and how should somebody use a safe password?
Use the same password for everything like me.
Password 123.
Has the same variation.
Exclamation point.
Yeah.
I just changed a few digits.
Right.
No, he doesn't. Don't.
No, wait. I actually have super protocols in place that I don't even know anything about.
That's right.
What are you talking about?
That's right. Yeah. Well, back to your tips for people. Using complex passwords is very important. Changing them out every couple months is important too. Using different passwords for different applications and devices is important too. And the simple thing is put a PIN or password on your phone because that encrypts your data. So
this annoying code that I have to type in every time I open my phone,
yeah,
or get look at my face,
Yeah.
it encrypts everything.
it encrypts your drive.
Okay,
So,
cool.
Very simple way to do it.
Yeah.
I remember I was on a business trip and I was at the hotel and the guy had his phone out and he had it laid open on
Yeah.
right on the ledge where I was leaning like this. And he had to go in the back and get something. And I seen his phone there and I could see it, I could see someone was texting with him and unlocked. And he came back and I was like, you should really close your phone up. And he's like, don't worry about it. I never do. I'm like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Your whole life is right there.
It's actually, it's crazy. You're entirely right. Your whole life is there. And the feeling we used to get when we lose our wallet, that's what happens now, magnified by 10 when a younger person loses their phone, right? They lose everything. They lose their wallet. They lose all their social media accounts. They lose their passwords.
Their conversations, their
especially
pictures.
if they're using strong passwords and they don't remember their Apple ID or something. So imagine losing your wallet times 10 nowadays for young people. They're
Young
really...
people. That's like me. If I lost this thing,
100%.
Oh, yeah, no, young people, right? Me too, yeah.
Yeah, I was
Your TikTok account would be gone. Your life would be over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all that TikTok. Yep.
But when it comes to passwords, you can use password managers, but the thing is, it's a single point of failure. Mm-hmm. So if someone breaks in your LastPass account, and LastPass was hacked, they can view all of your passwords. So, the other side is you get to use very complex passwords and you don't have to remember them. That's great too. But it is a balance. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about vigilance. It's just be hyper vigilant about what you do. And the more time you spend on your devices, the more time you leave open to not be vigilant.
Right.
Yeah.
I like to think of it like a chain. And all my passwords are different. I don't memorize any of them. And if somebody gets access to one account, at least they're not getting access to another account. That chain is gone. I'll change the password, log out of any devices that account has been logged into. And in your opinion, would that be recoverable then once you change your password and you log out of devices? Is there ways that somebody can still access that with an expired or no longer valid?
No. Yeah. Unless they had your email address and they could get in to your email, because then they could reset your password. Mm-hmm. But as long as they can't get in there and they don't have access to your phone, there's nothing they could really do.
Interesting. So
beyond,
changing passwords is a pretty safe bet. If you've been hacked, you find out your email has been hacked on Have I Been Pwned. Say you've been in 4 or 5 security breaches. Changing your password and logging out of any logged in devices should pretty much reset. You can use that account again.
Yeah, unless it's on your device. If someone's on your device, they'll just keep stealing your keys. They'll be using a keylogger or viewing you,
Right.
They can take it that
I think
way.
I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
do you mean if they have a device that because actually a personal friend of mine had this scenario happen a while ago. Someone broke into their home, stole their computer and laptop, and now days later they realized that their Facebook account had been hacked into and passwords changed. So now that person has their physical device, even if she logs out, if that device is remembering the old password and they update it, shouldn't that be fine?
That would be fine. It's if her computer that she uses right now, if she had malware on there, like a C2 tunnel, or like a Trojan or a keylogger, and they're just viewing her device, then it wouldn't matter if she changed everything. They get the logs and they'd be able to view her credentials.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. How do we best prepare people who have, how do we update the general public's knowledge? You said earlier they need to be as informed as people in the industry are. So how do we really do that for them? Because, not everyone has the time, especially people who are working a 9 to 5 and then trying to do a side hustle. Well, I would even throw you into that category. You got your main business and now you're doing another business on top of that.
Just full go.
Yeah, right. And like, other than listening to the Dark Water Report in the mornings now, like, how do we help the general public become up to date with it? And I think what's going to happen.
I already know the answer to this.
Go ahead.
Let's scare the life out of them.
Nothing is safe.
Nothing is safe. Live in fear.
It's all landmines. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe not.
I forget what I was going to say now for my solution for them. Let's think about it again. They don't have the time. They're focusing on their business and their side hustles. I think what we need to do is come up with almost, and I see you as being somebody who might be able to do this, creating almost like security as a subscription model, security as a service. Is that a thing? Does somebody...
It's hard because there's so much... there are so many products out there for people. So in my business, my client base is small to medium-sized business. But if I go there, it's a very difficult sell because it's like car insurance.
Right.
Unless you're currently getting attacked, you don't really care. So if I'm like, let me make sure you're protected, they're like, meh, and just like car insurance, it's like, if it wasn't mandated for you to have it, to drive, then why would you get it? I'm not in an accident, Right. So it makes it difficult.
So this is a sales problem, regardless of the business that you're in.
Yeah.
And all the things I've sold in my life, to B2B, business to consumer, it's always easier when they've experienced a pain point in the past, and I'm giving them a solution to something that they felt pain in before. And I think that if you, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're selling cybersecurity, and you walk into a business and they've experienced it before, even though it was a year or 2 years ago and they got past it, they recovered data, or they just moved on and they created new data, you're more likely, I would think, to be able to have an easier sale there, to get them on board. It's like, yeah, we can't have that happen again. But if you haven't experienced it, it's kind of like, yeah, it probably won't happen.
No,
Well,
you're completely right. I had a marketing guy. Shout out to Bill Jackman.
Okay.
He said in sales, you basically find the pain and you start twisting because people have to understand why they need you. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, 100%. But when it comes to people, especially with technology, is that there's so much chatter that it's hard, like keeping it simple for people. But in a company, if I came to your company and, we set up a cybersecurity culture where it's like, hey, don't leave your computers unlocked if you walk away. Make sure you shred your documents, And if you're traveling, make sure you turn your VPN on, and then you tie things in there. That's easy because you go to work and work is work. But at home, if I'm like, hey, don't make sure you turn your VPN on when you go home, it's like, I got stuff to do. I got to eat supper, Get the kids ready, and so getting people in the culture of being secure is, there has to be a way to do it. But I think that there's people right now that are clicking on phishing emails and losing thousands of dollars, and it might be a hard lesson for them, but they'll definitely start looking into things.
And how do you educate people when they're not really interested in learning because they're busy with their lives?
Yeah.
Until something happens.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with the advent of AI, we really have some potential here to build a cybersecurity product that monitors your activity, but then this is very big brotherish as well, and that's usually how they sell it. Stay safe online, use AI, have it monitor your online activity so it can identify anomalies, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, now you're feeding this AI all of your info. So if somebody gets a hold of that, what do? We almost need a cybersecurity product that's so affordable, it's a no-brainer for people to subscribe to, that would be ideal. But then is it safe and effective?
I got it. The solution's been here all along. Jordan's already told us. Put your phone down.
Unplug.
Get offline.
Actually, that's something I want to go a little bit off script here, because I want to ask both of you this question. So I'm planning on developing a streaming website. Mainstream is what I'm calling it. Main is in like a lion's mane.
Okay, nobody steal that.
It's already mine.
Okay. All right, patent pending.
But I want it to be almost anti-social media. I'm really diving into social media now, asking myself, what makes a platform a social media platform? And then what makes it the opposite? So one huge red flag with social media is the ability for predators to contact young people and groom them into, whether it's the sex industry or whatever. And then we got that weird, awkward gate of OnlyFans, which women are just flooding to now.
Yeah.
So I think the ability to directly message somebody is very much entangled with what it means to be a social media platform. So how do I'm asking both of you, how do I design a platform that's anti-social media? What are key features in social media in your opinions?
I thought of this a lot because social media was so interesting in the beginning. It's like, I'm going to get pizza. Who wants to come? I got nothing to do. I'll come too. It's like, perfect. And now it's like people just yelling from a mountaintop, and then people looking at people's posts from so much long ago, and like dragging stuff up that person is probably a different person, or, there's no nuance around what they were saying. Mm-hmm. I think an interesting social media would be disappearing messages. So if you make a post, it only stays up there for a certain amount of time. And then as people comment on it, it disappears once you see them. So it's in the moment. And, if someone hasn't read that in the hour that you said it, it's gone.
Interesting.
Or even if they just read it, once they read it, it's gone.
Yeah, that too.
This is true. And just to build on that, I remember when like Facebook kind of started getting big here. It was around 2006, 2007, 2008, those years. That's when Facebook started getting kind of big here. And then we quickly realized that our privacy settings were garbage. And it was just whoever wanted to see you can just go onto your profile and see all your pictures. And I was in university at the time. And then as I was approaching finishing that and moving into the workforce with a big boy job, one of the things that came up, and I don't know where, but it was like, lock down your Facebook before you apply for any jobs. Because people can go back. Your employers are definitely going to go back and check out your history. Hell, I have hired people, and one of the things I do, once I get a resume, if I want to hire somebody, I go on social media and I check them out if I can. And so what I did is, after when I convocated and I finished my university degree, before I started applying for jobs, I went through my Facebook, put in my protocols to only certain people could see it. But even then, I still went through and I just deleted a bunch of stuff. Or untagged myself in the pictures I could and removed pictures. I got as much old stuff up there as possible. So this is a really cool idea, actually.
It's a cool idea, but I want to play devil's advocate now. So it's almost the inverse of what you were saying earlier, needing to unplug. With that time to live, as you will, on your posts, people are going to need to stay more connected on a regular basis in order to get that information.
Only if you have FOMO.
Well, everyone apparently has FOMO now with social media. That's one of the biggest things.
I tell you, like, I don't even use it anymore. And it's funny because, so many people will be like, that's where they send all their invites. So if you don't call me on the phone, I'm not going to be there because I don't check Facebook.
But isn't that just a more quality interaction anyway?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe we just realize this with age. But yeah, I have Facebook, but I don't have Facebook. I have Instagram, but I don't. I haven't posted anything in years.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what is it? X, Twitter. Sometimes, very rarely. And then whatever the TikTok is, who knows?
Yeah.
Are they still doing dances on there?
Well, that is something else. And that is Reels personified, or on steroids, as you would say.
I think the argument here is, I think that there's a better quality of life offline
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
being online. And at some point, I hope whoever's listening to this, who's enthralled with social media, realizes that turn off, put the phone down.
I think there might be a way to have the best of both worlds because technology is not going away. My theory is that we're addicted and we're not going to stop. And now with the advent of AI, in fact, I was listening to a podcast this morning and the speakers were saying that they believe the advent of AI is human evolution. We're moving from what humans are nowadays as the caterpillar emerging into some sort of butterfly. It's a necessary evolutionary
The
step.
issue I have with that is that AI doesn't really think, and it's already shown that it can be manipulated to the ideology of the creators.
Mm-hmm.
So that is when it becomes a prison, because if you don't feel that way, well, you don't get to evolve. But the evolution is as we are humans, and we kind of create this world. They tried to sell meta as like the next world. It's like, cool, you want to spend all that time in a world that some dude created? It doesn't make sense. How magical is the actual world, and how much better do you feel if you go for a walk compared to if you stayed on your phone for the same amount of time? I bet you would feel considerably worse. And I don't know, it's not thought through enough.
Yeah.
And I really, sorry.
No,
Continue, yeah.
actually, you've just given me a really great idea. I'm kind of combining a few things now in my mind that happened recently, and I'm applying basically a filter to it. So I had a situation where a tenant of mine was locked out because I had changed the batteries, but they were dead in the keypad. So he texts me and says, "Mike, do you have the code to the door? I can't get in." And I said, "Oh, it must have died. I'll replace the batteries when I get back." So I gave him a call, and before I could get through to him, his phone was protected with some sort of authentication where I had to press 2 in order for the call to go through. So it immediately blocks out any sort of nonsense calls that are done by bots or just automated systems.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was really impressed by it. And actually, I've been meaning to ask him about it. It must be a service that he's subscribing to or his cell phone provider is providing. But I like that idea. So if we had a social media platform where you kind of had core friends and then maybe acquaintances and then people you don't know, there could be some sort of filtering process where, like a message from Ryan, I would get it immediately. We're going to be connected, especially when we inevitably move to brain computer interfaces where people can reach you all the time. I think this idea of a filter based on how you assign people in your life, if I want to rate both of you a 10, you get instant access to me, whereas other people might be able to directly message, but it'll just keep getting filtered back further and further.
Is that already not a thing on like Facebook? Because again, I'm not on there, so I don't know. This is a
kind of
genuine
is.
question.
No, yeah, it kind of is because they do have. If you're not friends, then it goes to like the requested message area.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is something. But then, how do we build on that? And how do we keep young people safe? These are top questions in my mind.
I think good questions. I think we went down a rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
And everybody's listening is just going, man, this is getting deep.
Maybe. Well, that's a great point, right? Let's take it back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who are interested in cybersecurity, how do they get into the industry and what are some jobs they should be applying for?
The first thing to do is to get a good base in networking, understanding how networks work. I actually started out in software development, and from there I got into system administration, and that was a good kind of jumping platform for me to get into cybersecurity. I started doing courses at the organization I worked for, but you can actually there's a junior penetration tester course you can do for free, and you can write the exam and certify for like $120, and you can get a junior pen tester job through there. But having a base of some sort in the tech world, even if it's IT support, something where you understand the flow of systems, it's a good place to start, and then just keep building.
So what are some job titles that newbies in the industry would want to apply for?
Anything with junior is great. Yeah, anything with junior. Network analyst would be a good job to get as a beginner or junior network analyst. And again, even you might have to start in the IT department, but like you got to start somewhere.
That's
So,
right.
And I guess if you want to start your own business in this industry, you probably should get your feet wet and learn the ropes.
Yeah.
Before you get into it, it's not exactly an industry you can. I don't think anyway that you can, like, for example, I wouldn't just go start a cybersecurity company or any type of networking security company because I wouldn't even know where to start. So
You might run into a couple pitfalls.
yeah, there's definitely gonna be
starting
a couple of roadblocks there that I just can't figure out. So get your feet wet, get in the industry, probably work for somebody else, learn some ropes, and then maybe get into it like yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many. Cybersecurity is getting bigger, and there's a lot of opportunity for interesting innovation. I recently heard about blackout alarms or blackout drills, where companies are like, we don't have any devices, all the computers are down. How do we continue business as usual? So they have to create plans like that.
Ooh.
That would be an interesting business to get into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
What would you do?
If everything went dark,
Yeah.
cry. yeah, that's it. That's my plan.
You might want to start creating, what was it called? A dark plan? Dark alarm?
It's called I think they're called blackout drills.
Blackout drills.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. What an interesting question. Okay, here it is. So everybody's listening. If you're own a business, small business, medium, large, doesn't matter. What would happen if you couldn't log onto your email? You couldn't access your cloud files. Are we talking, does your phone work? Like, how far are we going with this? Like, technology dead and you're trying to still operate?
I believe the way they've been doing it, and a friend of mine, their company recently did it. And I believe it's just like all of the apps are down and the email are down.
Right.
Like you still have a phone.
Text message?
Yeah, and possibly text messages because that would be off the network anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically.
I could easily operate in the short term.
Yeah.
The long term would hurt though because we have everything. Is there any security risk in telling everybody where I store my file? It's with Google. So there it is.
You hear that?
Yeah. So if you can crack Google, well, maybe I shouldn't. No. That's not a challenge. Don't do it. But
Well, what's your mother's maiden name? Let's start there.
listen, I'm definitely not going to tell you my mother's maiden name or my paternal grandfather's first name or any of that stuff.
The street you grew up on.
No.
Your pet's first name.
Yeah. Definitely not my pet's first name. No. Oh, man. Yeah. It's a goldfish when it's 5. Where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought. But
You feel like you could still
I could
stay up and
operate.
running.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could operate for a little bit because we've got such a small customer base. Because our each sale is kind of it's a big number usually because we're doing bigger jobs, not a lot of small jobs. So I feel like I can operate off my phone for a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to lose people's contracts, people's files, scope of work. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to continue operating in the long run. So it depends on how long things go dark for. And having to recreate a bunch of files would definitely
So what are
suck.
some things you can mitigate?
Oh,
in
for
case that
me,
happened?
it's nothing about this. I use 2 cloud-based file management sources.
Okay.
So one goes to the other. So if one went down, I kind of go to the other.
Oh, so you're doing frequent backups.
Yeah, it's like
That's great.
a redundancy or duplicating
Yeah,
of information.
that's
It's-
great.
That's clever, Ron. Good for
Yeah.
you.
Hey, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not just a pretty face.
Well, that is one of the things that gets overlooked is people don't back up things properly.
I probably don't do it enough, but yeah, I mean, I got a terabyte of information over Dropbox and another terabyte with Google.
That's great.
And Google is kind of there, and you just
Mhm.
keep. Dropbox is not active. Google is active because our email is actually a Gmail, and Google's made it super easy. It's the reason they're one of the biggest companies in the world. It's because they have great products. I mean, I find it easy to use. So, but yeah, no, that's what I do. So
That's great.
I think it'd be hard to take us down. I'm hoping. Still not a challenge. Please don't try.
And your pet fish name was Bubbles.
Bubbles. Goldie.
Goldie. gold.
But that is a great tip. That is a great tip, I gotta say. There's no harm in having redundancies, and even if the connection systems went down, you still have access to your laptop.
Well, I think eventually they'd come back up as long as I can access that data again.
I wonder if the cell phone companies' internet services went down. If somebody had Starlink, would they still be able to operate? I wonder what technology that's operating on. Is it completely separate? Say when this WEF, World Economic Forum, massive cybersecurity attack happens that they're claiming will happen and shut down all the transactional systems.
Well,
will Starlink still be?
I hear Elon listens to our podcast.
Oh yeah.
So I'm expecting Elon, if you're listening, just to send us a
he may call in. He may call in. Yeah.
He should.
He's got a live feed.
We need to know this.
Well, he has mobile satellites, from what I can tell. He has his own satellite infrastructure, I think, through Starlink. So, they'd have to take all those out, wouldn't they? Because they're.
I would imagine. I wonder how connected they are to the current infrastructure in place.
Yeah.
We'll have to.
Because he's like was it? What was that country?
Ukraine?
Possibly. I read something a while ago where he gave the people Starlink so that they could communicate.
Yeah, that was back when the war first started between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah,
and they took out their. I think Russia took out their telecommunications, or basically, and then he. If I'm wrong on this, don't get mad at anybody who's listening, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. He sent over a bunch of Starlink. Infrastructure or whatever you want to call it, and got people back online.
It's pretty wild that somebody has the power to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elon was like, "Oh, you took that? No, I'm just gonna put them back now. No, I'm just gonna I'm gonna put that country back online."
It's wild, eh?
I don't think he sleeps.
I think he says 6 hours. I think is what he goes for.
I watched this thing because there's so many people out there that are like, envision something and then you'll get it. And I remember watching an interview with him when he was younger, and they were like, "What do you attribute your success to?" He's like, "I found that people work 40 hours a week. So if I worked 80 hours a week, I could do double the work in half the time." I was like, that's the difference between people going, envision what you want. It's like, you got to work like crazy.
Oh, I know. Listen, you're opening a different can of worms here for me, because there's two cultures. There's lots of different cultures and mindsets going on right now, but there's two there's one, there's like hustle culture. There's work, grind, hard, build, work yourself to death. And then it's just as prominent as the other one is like work-life balance.
Yeah.
Like have travel. With what money? I don't know, but go travel, experience, have a life, do this.
I'm a life guru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe build later if you feel like it.
Yeah.
There's the other culture that's over here going, no, you need to work.
The David Goggins culture.
Yeah. But I mean, both have good arguments. You have this.
That's why I'm torn.
Right. Yeah. You have this. While I'm young, I should be putting my effort toward building financial security for my family. That makes sense. We're not always going to be young. We should use our time wisely. But at the same time, how do you not burn out? Something that I know you're familiar with. I'm certainly familiar with. And spend time with the ones that matter, right? You do need to balance, but at the same time, when you're on, you have to be on. And when you're off, you have to be off.
It's funny. It seems with everything, the truth's always somewhere in the middle. There has to be, if you're grinding all day, like you're saying, you're going to miss out on everything else. You're going to get burned out. You're probably going to hit some kind of weird bottom at some point.
It's going to really suck if you still fail and you're burned out.
Yeah. 100 hours a week and you still fail. But
as many do.
Yeah. I think there's a graph here. There's a curve. And after a certain point of effort, you're putting in more, but you're not really getting anywhere. I'm trying to picture how the Y and the X axis of this graph, but I feel like there's a sweet spot there where it's like, if you keep working, you're just not really going to get that far ahead. This is where you should stop now and switch and go on a vacation or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we're kind of getting to the time.
Absolutely. I think we're coming to the closing remarks.
Yeah.
I do want to briefly touch on just your thoughts about the dark web. what, in your opinion, like, what do you think about the dark web, and what is it mostly used for? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
I mean, I don't believe in nerfing things. I think that
I love Nerf guns. What are you talking about? Wait, what?
like it's also, you know, it's heavily monitored by federal agencies, and like the issues with it, there is like illegal, immoral stuff, and that shouldn't exist. But you know, the dark web is a great anonymous place if you want to like share ideas or you know.
What kind of ideas are we talking about, Jordan?
What's it? Yeah. Spooky ones. No, no, I don't know.
Escaping
It's
the Matrix.
yeah. I honestly, I don't really spend any time there. Like I've been on there. I've kind of looked around and you know seen all the wacky stuff they got on there, like buy guns and illegal guns when you're on vacation, and like a lot of drugs, and then there's like hire a hacker and hacker services as a service and stuff like that. So I mostly look at it to see what's out there in the cybersecurity world, but I don't spend a lot of time there. I don't really have a big opinion on it. You know.
I guess if you don't know what it is, or you don't know how to do it, just stay away from there.
Yeah. You don't want to go out on the dark web and start talking to strangers.
No, I think it's so friendly.
Yeah, they are very friendly.
Everybody wanted to talk to me the one time I was there.
Popular dude on the dark web.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One picture is all it took.
No, that's a good point. And there's certain things you need to do before you start exploring to stay safe on there. It's not like you can just go on there and without the proper infrastructure or proper tools in place. So caution to someone who is listening to this and they want to see what's there. You know, do your research and make sure you know what you need before you do that. And there's a few things that you need to do that are certainly mandatory, like having a virtual machine and downloading the proper browser. But yeah, we'll end it on that note. Jordan, thank you so much for your time today. If somebody wants to get in touch with you or listen to the Darkwater Report, how do they do that?
Sure. It's indarkwater.com is our website. There's a link there for our podcasts. Or hop on Spotify and we're the Darkwater Report.
Sweet. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was
My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.